ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Harjit Singh, CEO, Tata Tele Services Limited, for the leadership keynote on surviving in rapid technological change. Harjit is the CEO of Tata Tele Services Limited and is responsible for the growth and expansion of the enterprise telecoms business. TTL is a growing market leader in the enterprise space and offers a comprehensive portfolio of voice, data, and managed services to enterprises and carriers in the country under the brand name Tata Tele Business Services. Harjit is an officer of the 96 batch of the Tata Administrative Services and has been associated with several companies in the group such as Tata Housing, Tata Auto Comp Systems, Tata Communications, and Neotel before joining TTL in 2012. Over to you, Harjit.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, honorable government dignitaries, my fellow panelists, esteemed journalists and industry colleagues. I'm truly honored and delighted to be a part of this prestigious Voice and Data Telecom Leadership Forum, and really would like to sincerely thank Cyber Media for inviting me to share my views on the subject, surviving in the times of rapid technological change. By way of introduction, my name is Harjit Singh. I represent a company called Tata Tele Services. We bring a wide range of connectivity, cloud, and value-added services to small and medium enterprises. And it's this experience that I will try to bring to the table. So I would confess that I'm not a technology seer, but over the years, having interacted with such a vast number of enterprises, it's important that I am in a position to share this experience with you all. The last 2 years have been anything but normal. All of us have seen the tragedy that has unfolded in front of our eyes. The human dimension of that tragedy is really well known to us. I would dare say that there would be hardly anyone in the room who's not carrying the scars of what COVID-19 has created in the last 2 years that we've seen. It's important to know that the tragedy has been equally profound for enterprises, right? And I say this because, we deal with small and medium enterprises for whom mortality is a factor in any case. These are enterprises who don't have the benefit, some of the benefits that large enterprises have of financing, funding, ability to draw resources, whether human or otherwise. So mortality for them is already a big factor. In the last 2 years, we've seen that a number of these companies have ceased to exist. It would not be fair on my part to conjecture on what these companies could have done or should have done, because the circumstances have been different for each of these companies. But it's important to drive or draw lessons from companies who have actually survived or even thrived in these difficult times. While COVID-19 and the disruption caused by it is extremely apparent, there has been a disruption which has been underway over the last 4 or 5 years, which has been more latent. Now, what is this disruption? This is a disruption that has been caused or created by all of us as consumers of products and services. You would really agree with me that as we conduct our daily lives, the customer experience that we encounter, as we, for instance, let's say buy grocery, buy luxury items in many cases, how we commute, how we consume content, whether it is audio or video, how we consume financial services, we've seen a sea change in the customer experience that we experience. The experience has really become fluid, frictionless, and you can sense that the customer is at the forefront of this experience. So when we, having experienced this kind of journey with the products and services that we consume on a daily basis, go to our offices, we often wonder, why can't this experience be replicated by, let's say, the rest of the vendor system, vendors who provide services to our products and services? And even more important, as we sit in our companies, the important question that we need to ask is, are we providing our customers of our products and services, the same experience that we ourselves have become habituated to in our daily lives? I think that's the important question that one needs to answer. It's also clear that the companies who are looking with customer at the forefront, with customer at the core of their existence, and are simplifying the customer journey are the ones who are thriving, not just surviving, but thriving in today's world. So my talk, a brief talk, is going to be about these companies who we believe, are bucking the trend of, they have taken disruption in their stride and in fact have grown, in the last 2-3 years, and to bring about some of the patterns that we see as we look at these companies. As I said, the benefit of at least my sort of role and the role that my company plays, we interact with hundreds and thousands of these small and medium enterprises, and therefore some of the patterns that we see, they are quite apparent, and those are the ones that I would like to share with you. The first pattern that we see, again, this is not rocket science, and you would know it already, is the element of digitization of workflows. Now, you'll all agree with me that digitization is a fairly common theme, and if you go back to even say 5 years from now, you will find that digitization was a buzzword even then, and every forum, every industry forum, and every event, would have some, focus on digitization and how it is shaping industries and our lives, right? The early adopters of digitization digitized workflows, which were more of the nature of support processes, so their focus was more on productivity and efficiency gains, where, let's say, supply chain management or any of the other support processes were digitized to make the organization a little bit more productive, a little bit more efficient, right? But what we see now, and this is a theme which has been actually accelerated by COVID, is a number of companies are now focusing on the front end, where value is actually created. So this is the end where we interface with the customer. So the digitization agenda of successful companies, as we see now, has customer at the core of the effort, not back end, but the front end, where the engagement with the customer is not transactional. It is not on a transactional sort of a basis, but more of in the nature of relationship, where the engagement is continual, where structured and unstructured data through these interactions is converted into actionable insights using a mix of tools such as AI, machine learning, IoT, data analytics, data science, and the rest of it. So where the contrast can be seen now is that digitization is not just about incremental efficiency gains, it is about value creation itself, right? And the companies which are putting digitization effort initiative with customer as the key and customer journey as the key are the ones who are therefore, sort of ahead of the lot, and who are the ones who are thriving in this new paradigms, right? Now, clearly, I gave you examples of, how we consume content, how we, sort of commute and all. Many of these companies are digitally native, right? So their model is all digital. That's the only model that they have. And of course, there are examples now. Education is one element where we've seen that companies which have been, sort of 100% digital have also moved to the physical part of it, realizing or sort of demonstrating that it's not just about being digital, it's about offering multiple channels to our customers to interface with us, to know about our products and services, to interact with the intelligence in our company, to be able to, sort of gauge the real needs and problems of the customer, and then therefore shape products and services and the delivery of the same. So omni-channel is what is the buzzword now, where element of digital or disproportionately digital, but also a physical element, right? So for companies which are digitally native, digitization is a part of the DNA. And so what all that I, the themes that I focused on come natural to them. What about companies which are traditional in nature, right? And how should they embark on this sort of digital bandwagon is the key. Again, in our experience, what we see is that for companies which have been essentially traditional, and I would say that telecom companies have been sort of physical in nature as well, this is a bigger challenge of how do I digitize my work processes? What should I do? Should I take legacy as a starting point and then I innovate around it? Or should I take a totally, grounds up, a fresh sort of an approach where I disregard what legacy is, I disregard how the customer experience journey is today, and really focus on it from ground zero. Again, there are different solutions to different problems. There is no one size fit all sort of a solution here. But in our experience, the companies which have really, have been successful are the ones who have reimagined the customer journey rather than, starting with the legacy journey of what they have and then sort of innovate around it. In fact, I would give you the example of our company. We've been a traditionally connectivity-focused company. Now we are layering it with connectivity solutions, adjacent services, cloud services, and all the rest of it. And in the past, we've toyed with the idea of, creating this additional overlay on the basic services that we provide, to an extent where we've realized now that perhaps, that's not the best way to extend these customer services to these products and services to our customers. We've created an absolutely new sort of an organization, with all its bells and whistles, product, IT, and all of that, to really reimagine the customer journey and not be influenced by what we already do. So I would, dare say that the approach that we see working out there is a grounds up, a fresh approach, rather than an incremental approach, which allows us to, sort of extract the gains that digitization can possibly get. Scale being the primary sort of gain that you get out there. In a world where workflows move to digital, or disproportionate workflows move to digital, cybersecurity becomes an important element. And that's another theme that we see in successful companies, that who are not waiting for an event to happen. COVID-19 may be a physical event, tomorrow's event may be digital. These are companies who are already embracing new frameworks when it comes to cybersecurity to be prepared ahead of time. So I think the operative word is the companies who are reimagining workflows, the companies who are working on digitization at the customer end, certainly at the back end as well, but predominantly at the customer end, who are therefore able to transform the customer interaction from just a transaction to an engagement, where actionable insights, data, structured, unstructured, is pulled through a variety of technological tools, be it AI, ML, IoT, and then the entire process of value creation, process creation begins from there, are the ones which are successful. That being one of the key themes that we see. The second trend that at least we see in our interaction with successful companies is that these companies are embracing a asset-light model. Now, again, this is easier said than done. A lot of our industries are capital intensive, where assets play a sort of a huge role. So again, one solution will not fit everywhere. But I would argue that even in companies which are capital intensive, asset intensive, there is a possibility of moving workflows to the digital side, and therefore in doing so, lightening the asset model. What are these companies, asset-light companies, are able to do? They're able to react to market exigencies in a faster manner. So whether it is pivoting on the customer axis to be going after a newer set of customers, or pivoting on the product axis to creating new products for the same or new customer, or creating new channels to reach the customer, our experience shows that companies which have an asset-light model are the ones who are able to react to the opportunity in the market better. So flexibility is what is the key here. Ability to respond is the key element that I talk about here. And how are these companies asset-light? These are the companies which are adopting cloud platforms, and not just across parts of the value chain, but across the entire value chain, starting from the sort of the customer awareness journey to products and services, to the entire sort of ecosystem which brings these products and services together and delivers that. So again, just to summarize, asset-light companies adopting cloud platforms are the ones, in our experience, especially over the last 2-3 years, who've managed to respond to emerging demand in the industry or in the market, emerging trends or even disruption better than the other companies. So digitization and asset light being the common thread, which is the other trend that we see of companies which are able to survive and thrive in this sort of new normal. Clearly, if for a company, simplification of a customer journey is the primary goal, obviously, yes, this goal is serving a end objective of profitability, a return on investment, shareholder wealth, and all the rest of it. But the key theme is, how do we enhance and simplify the customer journey? Then the human resource element of organizations also become key. right? If on the one hand, we are transforming the customer journey, can it happen if the skill sets within an organization at an individual and collective level are static? Certainly not, right? So whether it is induction of new skills or upgradation of skills or employee-friendly policies which makes it possible to extract or lean on, skills across the country, irrespective of language, location, these become really, really key. And I would say that this third element is perhaps the one which is often ignored, not very well understood, right? So skilling of the organization at an individual and collective level becomes, I would say, the single most important agenda of CEOs out there in the new normal. If we have to digitize, if we have to create an asset-light model that responds to demand in the market in the fastest manner possible, if we have to simplify the customer journey, that cannot happen if the resident skill set within the company at an individual and a collective level is static. And therefore, this really sort of becomes the third pillar of that we see as a trend in companies which are successful out there. So if I were to summarize, companies which are looking at digital as an important element to simplify the customer journey and participate in the value creation process, companies that are embarking on models which are more contemporary, not legacy, asset light, and therefore are leaning on sort of cloud platforms, companies which are focusing on employee skill upgradation at all levels. And this is not just the team which interacts with the customer, it is the entire ecosystem, starting from the CEO downwards, are the ones who we believe are surviving or thriving, and who really are creating the technology agenda, right? So the technology is evolving because the customer is evolving, because we as service providers are understanding what the customer needs, and therefore creating technology to make sure that the need is fulfilled in the fastest, simplest form sort of possible. Last but not the least, I'll close my brief talk by saying, and this is our experience, certainly from COVID, that when the lights go down and sometimes and occasionally when even technology fails us, it is the innate ability of us humans to adapt, improvise, and the human values, I would say, of empathy, hope, kinship, and collaboration that are as valuable a building block to success as is technology. Thank you very much. I wish you a good day and may you enjoy the rest of the sessions. Thank you very much.